This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Everyone, welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Big game day edition today as the Jets renew their rivalry with the St. Louis Blues for the first time since the Game 7 Manitoba Miracle back in the spring. And the Jets beat the Blues and sent them to the golf courses in double overtime after Cole Perfetti's tying goal with 1.6 seconds left. I'm sure that might come up a couple times today on the program. But that is all very much in the past. Both of these teams would love to be in a playoff spot right now. Neither of them are. And this is a massive 2 points for both teams. The Blues 3 games under 500 right now. The Jets at 500, both below the playoff line, looking to get a little bit of momentum heading into the holiday break next week. Of course, this is the beginning of the Jets' 3-game road trip. Tonight in St. Louis, Friday against the league-leading Colorado Avalanche, and then finishing it up with the Utah Mammoth on Sunday before a break for Christmas, and then return at home for the Minnesota Wild now with Quinn Hughes and the Edmonton Oilers. We knew the schedule was going to be toughening it up. It certainly will. So from a Jets perspective, you feel like you have to take advantage of a team that has struggled so far this year in the St. Louis Blues. We expect Connor Hellebuck to go for the Winnipeg Jets, and Joel Hofer, the Winnipeg native, is confirmed for the Blues to be going up against his hometown team. We're going to be talking about it with Jamie Rivers coming up a little later on. Always fun to get Jamie on the program when these teams go head-to-head. We'll talk Jets and Bombers with Jeff Hamilton from the Winnipeg Free Press. We're going to check in around the holidays with our friends at Kids Sport. Dustin Air will join us for a Sport Manitoba segment. And huge game tomorrow in the NFL. The Rams and the Seahawks battling for the top of the NFC West, and probably the winner of this game will be the Super Bowl favorite after this week of action. Our pal Thomas Tipple will pop by. I had such a miserable week last week between losing bets, props, my team being eliminated from the playoffs, and Patrick Mahomes tearing his ACL. Maybe Thomas can help us grab a few winners for the upcoming week. Of course, Friday at 10. Myself, Pat, and Jake will be back live on the channel with our weekly edition of WST Winners presented by Coolbet. Great to see everybody in chat. We got some issues with our party tonight at Boston Pizza, courtesy of Mother Nature. How about this right now, folks? We've got the orange warning, the blizzard. Oh, and now we've just added a freezing rain warning as well. I just stuck my head outside, and we are getting freezing rain right now, which is going to further complicate, I think, a lot of people's transport in and out of it. I mean, the blizzard warning, as Remis has on the screen, we're looking at 10 to 20 centimeters with locally higher amounts possible. I did hear, I think it was Hal's weather expert on, or maybe it was one of the other guys that was on OB today, said that they thought in and around Winnipeg might get the worst of it in southern Manitoba, around 25 centimeters. The snow is bad. The wind is worse. Maximum gusts 70 to 90 kilometers an hour. Now, it's starting this afternoon, but I don't know. We'll see what this freezing rain does, but we should see how people are feeling about making it out tonight. I do worry about, people like Phyllis and Bridget and Dallas who are coming in from Morden and Selkirk and Steinbach and some of these other areas. because I would be shocked if the highways aren't closed and probably the perimeter as well. I mean, if we're talking about whiteout conditions. So we'll get Remis in here. We'll see what people are saying in the chat as we're hoping to get together with everyone for what would be a real fun night of Boston Pizza, hopefully watching the Jets win a big game. Speaking of Boston Pizza, huge thanks to all of our sponsors, our friends at BP, who we're planning on hosting tonight at BP Keniston, our friends at Coolbet, of course, the Winnipeg Jets, Chud's Power Sports, Princess Auto, Manitoba Battery, Uptown Alley, Canadian Club, St. Patel Dental Center, Rollies Transfer, Clean Line. Get an update on the Clean Line lines for today's game as well, along with Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug, a Why Not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray, and, of course, your fan feedback for fansfirst.ca. Welcome to everybody in chat, and welcome to Michael Remis. What's going on?
Yeah, just looking at this weather report, you see the wind gusts and stuff like travel will be dangerous and likely impossible due to near zero visibility. There may be a significant impact on rush hour traffic. Not great timing for our planned holiday party at Boston Pizza, watch party for Jets Blues. And when you looked at the schedule, this was like, whoa, it's a game where I don't want to guarantee a Jets win, but say, hey, the Jets are big favorites here, minus 143 on Coolbet. We want to have a win for the Jets watch party, and this was the night that we picked, and well, this weather.
A month ago. It was just a perfect night. It's Wednesday. It's the middle of the week. It's right around the holidays. A game against St. Louis, which is a great kind of rival. First time since the teams had played last year. And, I mean, I know there's a lot of people that are fired up to come out. Now, I would imagine we'll be able to get around in the city, I think. But, I mean, even, like, out there, like on Route 90, it could be pretty bad. So, I mean, let us know in the chat. I mean, we're going to stay on this. And, I mean, especially everyone that had already sort of RSVP'd, I guess, to Bridget. Waiter says, risk it for the biscuit. Weather schmether. But I'm specifically worried about people from outside of the city, that I think it would be, as much as we'd love to see everybody tonight, insane to try to do it. Because basically, like, based on these alerts right now, let's just go back to this blizzard warning. I mean, that's after the freezing rain finishes. And I mean, if it's a bunch of freezing rain that ices everything up, and then we get 20 centimeters of snow, I don't even want to think about what the situation's going to be like around here. But it says starting this afternoon and in the evening, and obviously we're going to get it throughout the day tomorrow. But it says travel will be dangerous and likely impossible due to near zero visibility. There may be a significant impact on rush hour traffic. I imagine that will certainly be the case. And, with this game being at 7, not totally out of it. Let's see what we've got here for Winnipeg on the old weather network right now. I'm just going to pull up this radar map. And, we're starting to get it, and it looks like it is going to continue. Although it's very weird right now. We're into this freezing rain area, which is then going to turn back into snow, and then things are going to really get going. So let us know in the chat how you're feeling about this tonight. I mean, if you're in the city, if you're out of the city, I mean, I totally understand that there will be some people that it's just not possible to make it out. We did think about... we do have some options if we want to do something into the new year. A couple good games. There's a December 15th game against the Minnesota Wild on a Thursday night. That probably would be a pretty good one for us to do. And then, of course, there's the Monday the following weekend with Jonathan Toew's return. But, Mother Nature not doing us any favors right now, Remo, considering what we've what we were hoping to put together for everyone tonight heading into Christmas.
Yeah, this is, great time of year. We do have the Jets games coming up at home after the Christmas break, but a huge road trip through the Central Division, St. Louis tonight at 7, Friday night, Avalanche 8 p.m. and Sunday at 6 against Utah. So we plan a nice party for tonight. We'll wait and see, I guess. But see what the weather says. I imagine anyone from out of town not worth making the drive in based on the forecast. And I don't know what it's going to be like in the city. Sometimes you think, hey, this is going to be terrible, and then nothing happens. But, we'll see.
The fact that they've got the orange warning now before anything's even started, and we've been hearing horror stories of what it's like out west. I'm pretty sure that will be the issue. I mean, I'm just looking at the hourly right now. And as I said, we're getting this freezing rain right now, which could be problematic. And then the snow, well, the snow really starts kicking in. Again, this is the hourly forecast. It'll kind of be snowing around 7 and then much heavier once the game is over. So I do think we should be good to go. But listen, we do understand if there's people that can't make it tonight. And we will do our best to, we guarantee we'll do another one in the new year, whether it's in January, whether it's in March. There's not really much going on in February. And who knows, maybe something for Team Canada as well. But let us know what's up in the chat, and we'll stay on top of this. Yeah, Retro Winnipeg, I really shouldn't. 2026 party is a better idea. Stay tuned. We'll touch base with our friends at Boston Pizza as well, and we'll see how everyone goes. Yeah, and there's the Derminator. There's a big one in Gimli on March 19th, Reem. I think I mentioned this yesterday when we were talking about our friends at Chud's Power Sports, but that town takeover is going up to Gimli for the Winnipeg Jets on March 19th. I'm thinking that might be a fun time to go out and see the Derminator. Maybe get on a sled at Chud's and have some fun out in Gimli for the day. I haven't been to one of the town takeovers in the past, but I know they've been great events. Friends, with the organization, showed a bunch of photos and pictures and things like that. So, obviously with the support we get from them and from, of course, Chud's, it would be maybe it could be quite synergist to come together for that game with the Jets in Boston. But as they say, we'll make an official call on this as we kind of get a little bit more information. So we'll stay on top, and we'll definitely do an email to everyone on tonight just to confirm everyone, because the last thing we want to do is have anyone in a car accident or worse, based on doing their best to get together with our crew. As sometimes the best idea is maybe to take it easy, but I was looking forward to this game and certainly to seeing everybody else tonight. As far as this game goes, though, Remo, and we're going to be saying this a lot over the next 50 games. The final 50 begin tonight. Yesterday, I sort of laid out what needs to happen for the Winnipeg Jets to be a playoff team. Let's assume that 95 points is going to get you in that final wild card, which is a point less than last year's was. They're going to have to be 13 games above 500 through the final 50, which is basically somewhere around 30 wins, 17 losses in regulation, and 3 in overtime. 3 losses in overtime or a shootout. And then when you look at the teams that are on the list of upcoming opponents, the Avalanche, the Oilers, the Minnesota Wild, now with Quinn Hughes, a quick trip out west for the Red Wings in a playoff spot, Leafs playing better, Ottawa, who we just saw, and then you get into January, and again, a lot of home games, which you hope you can make the most of. But, I mean, it's good teams in playoff spots. I mean, a lot of the lesser teams were teams that the Jets had sort of feasted on in the first dozen games of the season. So there's a lot of hockey coming up, but it makes a game like tonight in the division with the team that's right behind you in the wild card race basically feel like a must win, even though we're only in the first half of the season still.
Yeah, they need to keep pace with the wild card, and you need to beat teams below you in the standings, and the St. Louis Blues I mean, they're only 1 point below the Jets, although they have played 2 more games. We showed the record here. Goals against, for the Blues with Jordan Binnington, you thought, hey, goaltending would be solid, but their goals against right now, 3.56. Not ideal, and they're having trouble scoring as well, 2.53 goals for per game. So this is set up nicely for the Jets. The Blues dealing with a couple injuries, Kyrou, Holloway, big scores for them. And you look at their projected lineup, Huss, and you're like, who are some of these guys here? Like Robbie Fabry, where did they find him now on the top line with Rob Thomas and Pavel Buchnevich, who's really had a disappointing season.
Fabry was on a PTO in the A a few weeks ago.
So this is the today's update. They got Fabry on the top line, and this just doesn't look close to the roster that we saw in the playoffs, and they haven't had that success. And one trade they made in the offseason, the Zach Bolduc for Logan Mailloux trade, they have Mailloux on the third pair D with Cam Fowler, who was scoring so many goals in that playoff series. But I thought Bolduc was excellent for St. Louis. He was a player I did not like. Like, he's kind of played the heel role, played hard-nosed hockey, and he had a good start with Montreal. He's kind of cooled off a bit, but kind of took away from some of their forward depth. They could really use a guy like him right now.
Yeah, that Bolduc was a real pain in the ass for that entire 7-game series. I mean, I didn't know as much about him before the series, but we were certainly sick and tired of him by the end of the 7 games. And I was surprised that they made that deal. Now, Mailloux obviously was a first-rounder that came with a lot of baggage, but as a prospect was really expected to be a guy that, certainly St. Louis, when they made that trade, they thought that he would come in and be, potentially a top 4 guy, a good, solid, young, puck-moving defenseman that's got some size. He's had a rough first 30-odd games with the St. Louis Blues. But, we'll talk to Jamie about this when he joins us. I mean, the myriad of problems, injuries, guys underperforming, the goaltending being terrible at times. I mean, the numbers that Jordan Binnington has are amongst the worst of the entire National Hockey League. Now, we're not going to see Binner tonight. We'll see Joel Hofer. And, of course, the Winnipeg native Remo like Binner and the rest of the team, had a rough start. But he's actually been quite a bit better over the course of his last number of starts. Now, like the numbers for the season still don't look very good. 5-7-2, 316 goals against average, and 890 save percentage. But when you compare that to Binnington's 349 and 869 save percentage, you understand that they at times have really had a tough time making the save. But as often happens, it's not just the goalies. The team hasn't been playing particularly good defensively in front of their netminders. Hofer's last 5 games, he lost 5-2 to the Preds. That was on Monday, which is interesting that they're giving him back-to-back starts. I'm not sure whether he really loves playing against Winnipeg and they wanted to do that, or they thought that he was really good and deserves to be back in. But before that, got a win over Chicago. Then was in 7-2 loss. He only played a period in that one against the Preds. 5-2 loss to Boston. And really strong game on the 6th of December in a 2-1 win, allowing only 1 game. But more often than not, when you're looking at the game score and the numbers for individual starts for Blues goalies this year, the save percentage has been in the 8s, and there's been a number of goals coming in. And I'll be honest, Remo, I'm really surprised that we're talking about both of these teams being in the situation that they are. I mean, the Winnipeg Jets last month and a half has been well documented daily on Winnipeg Sports Talk. So, I mean, we know where they are and what's happened to them. But the Blues, after how good and how difficult they were to beat last year in the playoffs, I really expected them to use that frustration coming so close to be one of the better teams in the division right out of the gate this year, and it has been exactly the opposite.
Yeah, the St. Louis came on really strong in the second half and pushed into the playoffs and gave the Jets everything. That was one of the most physical series you'll see it. When you watched, the next round, it was like you're watching a different sport. How much hitting and physical play there was with the Jets and Blues, and you thought, okay, this Blues team is really primed to take a step forward. A guy like Dylan Holloway, he was point per game, I think, in the second half of the season. Got off to a slow start. He's injured. We talked about Jordan Kyrou injured, and just they haven't really got it going. So two teams below the playoff line looking to try to get back into the race, as it's very jumbled there in the West, and someone's got to go on a heater and take advantage. Are the Sharks really going to make the playoffs here? As we know, I know Celebrini got 50 points yesterday. Appears like a lock now for Team Canada, but there's still a lot of season left. They've only played 31 to 34 games here, so something's going to change. I think I don't believe what we see the playoff line at this time will be at the end of the season.
No, and listen, the Sharks have shown what happens. I mean, they were in the mess of all of these teams. They were right at 500. I mean, you win 3 games in a row, and all of a sudden you got a 2-point lead with a game in hand on the Utah Mammoth. Now, the Jets are 5 back of the playoff line right now, of the wild card spot. 5 back on LA with even games played. LA's now the first wild card. They got jumped by the Oilers last night. And the San Jose Sharks have won 3 in a row, and boom, they're there. 2 points up on the Utah Mammoth, and they've got two games in hand. So, we've kind of talked about this group of teams. The Kraken lost last night. They're now 1 game under 500. Blues are 3 under. Chicago 1. Jets and Mammoth even. And the Sharks right now 3 games above 500. So everyone chasing Macklin Celebrini. 50 points on the year. I mean, what an incredible franchise piece the Sharks have. And I'll tell you what, we're getting closer to the middle of the season. These kids are only getting better. Will Smith, albeit out. Kind of amazing. We're talking about the Sharks and Ducks right now in playoff spots as we approach Christmas.
Yeah, I think if you had to say a story of the start of the season, the youth making an impact, Connor Bedard, and now hurt Macklin Celebrini, they're on top of the NHL points leaders, and I don't think that's something that we saw happening. Bedard, he's tied for 6th with 44. Celebrini currently 3rd with 51 behind McKinnon and McDavid. And that's one thing that sticks out to me as you look at the top scorers, how many of these guys first overall or, top picks. You got in the top 10, you have McKinnon, McDavid, Celebrini, Bedard, Eichel. It really, Rantanen was a high pick. Kyle Connor was, just outside. He fell in his draft, but it does kind of show you that, hey, you need that franchise guy who you pick early to be the anchor of your team. And there's Leo Carlsson, you mentioned the Ducks. He's just outside 11. He's got 41 in 34. So these young teams, very exciting. Anaheim, Seneke, Cutter Gauthier making a huge impact with them. Jacob, they do have a nice mix of veterans too. Jacob Trouba having a good year, and we talked about the Sharks with Celebrini carrying them, and they've done a good job signing some veteran players like Tyler Toffoli, who's fit in there, John Klingberg, and Dmitry Orlov as well, anchoring the defense. So I like that. And you mentioned Seattle. They're a team. Thought after Vegas, success coming in early, Seattle had a flash. But they've really struggled. They're 1-8-1 in their last 10.
Yeah.
And they had there was some news about them on social media. They had a post-game press conference where they only allowed, team media to ask questions.
Seriously?
That was, now I don't know if there was other media there that didn't get a chance because, they were at home. So yeah, that was what's going on. That only team media was asking Coach Lane Lambert questions. So a lot of heat around the Kraken right now.
Yeah, and obviously not handling it particularly well if their PR staff is not allowing any questions from the rest of the media, only the team reporters. And we love our team reporters and the people that get us a lot of stuff when the rest of the traveling media aren't there. But wow, and yeah, I just pulled up. That Seattle run is ugly. I mean, their last 10 games, they have 1 win. They lost to the Islanders, Stars, Oilers, Wings, Wild. They beat the Kings and then lost to the Mammoth, Sabres, and Avalanche there in Calgary. Coming up tomorrow on Thursday night. But listen, and I know we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but it is the first time these teams have met since the Manitoba Miracle. Mark Scheifele had a few comments earlier, and areas on just meeting St. Louis in the first time since the playoffs, and we're almost into the new year.
That was an intense series, and it's weird that we haven't played them already. It's almost Christmas, and we haven't seen them. We haven't seen Colorado either, so it's it's gonna be an interesting road trip. But big games coming up, starting with St. Louis. So we want to go into the Christmas break feeling good.
All right, there's Mark Scheifele. As I said, it would considering how amazing that schedule was, or that series was last year, would have been awesome. To even open the season with those two teams going head to head. Had to wait quite a bit. Hopefully, it'll be worth it for the Jets. As I said, we're focused on tonight, but we can't not take a quick trip down memory lane. This is what Mark Scheifele had to say about what he remembers about Game 7.
Obviously, Fetz's game tire is obviously up there. So obviously, a lot of memories will be brought back when you play St. Louis. But at the end of the day, it's a new year and new teams. So we just got to worry about one game at a time.
I mean, as a guy who was on the ice for the sequence, what was it like to see how that kind of play evolved?
Well, I wasn't on the ice.
Oh, sorry.
So thanks for bringing it up.
Normally you would,
Come on, Ken, do your research.
Yes.
How much relief was there on your part and Josh's when that puck went on? I know you talked about that heading into the Dallas series, but when you look back on it now, the opportunity that allowed for you two guys in particular.
Oh, for sure. When it went from your season's over to now I get a chance to get coming back in round 2 of the playoffs. So obviously roller coaster of emotions, and obviously it was a quick turnaround, but obviously was happy to be healthy and ready to play Game 1 of the Dallas series, and obviously that game was big for big for the city, big for this team and this organization. So obviously it was fantastic.
I mean, dude, I had not heard that clip before. Poor Ken got body bagged by Scheifele. I'm looking at the chat. Everyone's losing their minds on that one. That was hilarious. Good on Mark for having a little bit of fun with Mark. A little bit of fun with Ken after it. And yeah, sometimes the details of everything that happened are lost. But that was a very funny back and forth with Mark Scheifele and our buddy Ken Wiebe.
Yeah, Scheifele, he was taking some big hits in that series, and he was out for Game 7. He missed, there was the whole will he not play, and you thought they were in a really tough spot without him in the lineup. Morrissey getting injured as well, and Hayden Fleury stepping up, and a number of players stepping up. But there's Mark Scheifele issuing the wake up for Ken Wiebe. Shout out to the Jets.
Yeah, he gave
Jets
the
website.
wake up for throwing that one up. Ken getting a wake up reversal from the Jets' number 1 center, Mark Scheifele. Listen, Arnie has just finished speaking. We've just got that audio, so we'll have that for you just after we're going to bring in Jamie Rivers right away on the horn to get the latest on what the St. Louis Blues have been up to. Just before we do that, big happy holidays to our friends at Uptown Alley. I actually popped down to Uptown Alley. It was banging last night. Lots of people hitting the lanes, having a few holiday bevies together, some great food. I went through, Remo, the arcade, and in some of the games there. I mean, next level stuff. Games that I'd never seen before. VR games as well. Cannot wait to get out there with you guys and the WST crew. And but hey, if you are thinking about a great place to go and spend some fun times with family, with friends in and around the holidays, Uptown Alley, 1301 St. Matthews Avenue. What a setup they've got there. And as I mentioned, the food and beverage options will blow you away. An incredible spot for private events as well, bookings, and of course, the best place in town for birthday parties, for kids, for teens, for adults as well. They've got it all at Uptown Alley. Don't forget, gift cards right now at the holidays might be a great stocking stuffer that everyone can enjoy. Those are available at Uptown Alley. And of course, check them out online at uptownalley.ca, 488-000. Get on down there during the holidays and into 2026 and have an absolute blast. It's not a blast? Moving. Moving is very stressful. Moving can really be something that occupies every moment of your mind before you're till there. Our friends at Rolly's Transfer are here to help. They've been doing it for Manitobans for over 60 years, family owned and operated. And the experts at Rolly's will take as much of the stress out of the moving experience as possible, as the most trusted name in moving and storage in Manitoba. Check out Rollies.com, amazing site that shows all of the things that they're doing in and around, because they're a massive logistics business, which takes them around the province on a daily basis, which means great rates and reliable service on your moves with flexible dates and timing. So what you want to do is hit on request an estimate, put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and let them know when you're moving, where you're moving to, and what needs to go. And the friendly staff at Rollies will turn around quickly with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment and service that Rollies has been famous for now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, let Rollies Transfer help you, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more, request an estimate today over at Rollies.com. Big happy holidays to all of you from our friends at St. Vital Dental Center. And I know there's going to be a lot of sweets eaten over the course of the holidays and lots of food and good times, whether it's still in 2025 or into 2026. If you're looking for an incredible full-service dental facility with an amazing staff to help you and your family, St. Vital Dental Center is the spot. They've been doing it for generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans. They have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's, state-of-the-art equipment and convenient free parking right behind the building. And they can take care of clients from 6 months to 99 plus with a full array of dental services, from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. Dr. Terry and his gang do it all. So for your next appointment, or you're looking for a long-term home for you and your family, give St. Vital Dental Center a call or check them out online at stvitaldental.ca. Make an appointment, pop in and see them. Great supporters of Winnipeg Sports Talk. And hey, also want to cheers all of you. Maybe we won't see it tonight based on what's happening weather-wise, but when you're popping by your local Manitoba liquor marts, don't forget to check out our good friends and longtime supporters, Canadian Club, the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Bomber fans and whiskey lovers, you still might be able to find the Bomber label bottle around, limited quantities until it is gone. But the other thing you will definitely find right now is the Canadian Club Cranberry Ginger Ale, the drink of the holiday season. And it has been pre-mixed for you, ready to go in cans, in both 4-packs and in singles. And you can grab those at your local Manitoba liquor marts, but keep your eyes out when you're grabbing a rack of beers, because your local vendor is going to have those as well if they do have singles. The amazing taste of Canadian Club with cranberry ginger ale, just in time for the holidays, but only during the holidays. Pick up the limited edition CC Cranberry Ginger Ale today at your local Manitoba liquor mart or beer vendor. All right, we will have Scott O'Neill coming up in a few minutes. Jeff Hamilton's going to join us as well. Right now, though, let's head down to the Lou and check in with Jamie Rivers, former Blue and Blues analyst, on what's been going on with St. Louis so far this season. What's going on, boss? Best of the season to you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Best of the season to you guys, too. Appreciate you having me on.
A little weird that, after that epic 7-game series in the spring, it's the middle of December. We're getting ready for Christmas, and these teams haven't seen each other yet.
Yeah, it's definitely weird for sure. You know, for the Blues' sake, they really haven't had a lot of divisional games so far this season. And the last 4 games, now this will be the last one of the 4. They finally had some divisional games. So, you know yourself, you can make a lot of noise within your division when you're playing teams that you have in your division and you're winning games. But right now, those wins are hard to come by for the Blues.
Well, it's been the same way for the Jets over the course of the last month and a half. But Jamie, what the crazy situation is right now, especially with what the Jets did last year, winning the President's Trophy. I mean, we're just about a Christmas, but I'm not sure that we might just call it a race with the top 3 teams in the Central, Minnesota, Dallas, and Colorado. I mean, the amount of wins it would take for a team like Winnipeg or St. Louis to catch one of those teams, and not to mention the losing that would have to take, is probably highly unlikely. And certainly feels like when we're talking about this team on a day-to-day basis in a game like tonight, we're in wild card territory now for both of these squads.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I think that for the rest of the Western Conference, it should be a race to number 1 or number 2 wild card spot, because the Avs and the Stars for sure have taken a massive lead, and now the Minnesota Wild acquiring Quinn Hughes, I mean, that's not going to make their team any worse, that's for sure. That's going to make a big difference for them. And so for me, if you're the Blues or you're the Jets, there's so many teams, it's like nobody's really seizing the opportunity to grab one of those wild card spots. And on any given night, like you look at last night, 2 or 3 teams lose again, which means teams like the Jets, teams like the Blues, other teams that are in the running, they're still there. They're 4 points out, 3 points out, 5 points out, which in today's NHL, like you put together a 2 or 3 game winning streak, and all of a sudden you're back in the wild card hunt. So it's been a really strange season.
It has been, and to your point on all of that, like the Jets are a 500 team right now, 15-15-2. I mean, you do that for an 82-game season, you get 82 points, and you're probably picking 5th or 6th overall. Blues are 3 games under 500, but yet the threshold for the wild card far, far lower right now in the West than it is in the East, and part of that is just these teams at the top have been so good all season long. In particular, in the Central Division, you just mentioned. I want to kind of dive into these 2 teams, but what was it like for you on Friday when your phone went off and you got the alert that Quinn Hughes was going into the Central? And what were your thoughts on that massive deal? We haven't seen one like that in a while.
Well, I was in shock to start off with, but then, having known Bill Guerin as long as I have, we're teammates in Boston, teammates here in St. Louis. He's a bold guy. He's not afraid to make moves. We saw when he got to the Wild, he had the famous buyouts of Parise and Suter. He held on to dead cap space for I don't even know how many years. And so if he sees an opportunity to make his club better, he's going to do it. So it was surprising a little bit, not so much that Bill Guerin did it, but just the fact that Quinn Hughes ended up in Minnesota. I thought for sure he was Eastern Conference bound, and obviously there's a lot of arrows pointing at the New Jersey Devils, but the Devils couldn't or wouldn't put together the deal that was necessary to make it happen. But then to circle it back to another Central Division team, you're like, just makes it that much harder for everybody else now to compile wins and to try and keep up to the teams that are up ahead of them. In particular, like we talked about, Colorado, Dallas, and now Minnesota, who just seems to keep getting better and better.
Jamie Rivers, Blues analyst, with us on Winnipeg Sports Talk. 7 o'clock puck drop tonight in the Lou between these 2 rivals. Jamie, as far as these teams go, I mean, listen, we've sort of been lamenting a really unfortunate last month and a half for the Winnipeg Jets after a real nice start. The Blues never really had a good start and have continued to struggle. What's going on with the Blues this season, and why are they where they are in the standings?
Yeah, it's been a really weird season. We go back and we know it was a hell of a series last year in the first round. The Jets squeak it out, 1.6 seconds left in the regulation. They win in overtime. I mean, a well-deserved win for the Jets. But for the Blues, internally here and externally, people thought, okay, it's time for this team to take the next steps now. The retool or whatever they were calling it. Doug Armstrong in training camp said the whatever is over. We have aspirations to be a top 3 team in the Central Division. We certainly have aspirations to be a playoff team. We're making moves now for the moment and also for next year and the year after. We want to be a contender sooner than later. But the season didn't start that way. The team just was inconsistent. Players that were scoring goals last year, putting points on the board, unfortunately, they were all like ice cold at the same time. Pavel Buchnevich couldn't score, couldn't do anything. Holloway had gotten cold. Robert Thomas wasn't putting up the points necessary. Cam Fowler, Colton Parayko still hasn't scored a goal. I believe he had 16 or 17 last year as a defenseman. So that play alone put them in a bad spot. Then the injuries started to mount up. Jimmy Snuggerud down, Dylan Kyrou down, Bukestad down. It just keeps going and going. Dylan Holloway a couple of days ago, high ankle sprain. He's out 6 weeks now. So the Blues have been forced to go to the bullpen from the American Hockey League, as well as signing guys and picking guys off waivers. Robbie Fabry, former Blue a long time ago, he's sitting in Charlotte playing in the American Hockey League on a PTO, and the Blues signed him to a 2-way contract. He comes in. He's played very well. He's played very well so far. Then Jonathan Bergeron, Detroit Red Wings waive him. The Blues pick him up. Why are they doing these things? Because they don't have enough bodies to play NHL-level hockey. It's nice to have some depth in the minors, but if you've got 4 or 5 guys from the minors playing on your NHL squad, odds are you're not a team that's contending for a playoff spot. So the Blues have had to try and duct tape and scotch tape this thing together. Again, though, the funny thing is I think they're 4 or 5 points out of a playoff spot still after all this. So it just goes back to what I think is the headline of this whole thing is that the Western Conference, apart from the top 3 teams or whatever, 3-4 teams, it's just a jumbled mess. Nobody seems to be able to figure it out.
Yeah, and both the Jets and the Blues will hope that a strong run will get them right back into contention. And, on the right side of that line, I'm just looking at some of the numbers you mentioned about the goal scoring. It is wild that, the Blues at this point in the season don't have a double-digit goal scorer. What is it? Holloway, Kyrou, and Neighbors all have 8 on the season right now, and Thomas and Falk have 7. So, it's been spread out. But there's been one big offensive go-to guy scoring goals. And I have to ask you, Robert Thomas has been that guy. We saw how good he was in that playoff series so far. Is he sort of bearing the brunt right now of carrying maybe a heavier load without some of the players that have been available to the squad?
Well, I think that's exactly it. So, Robert Thomas, he's primarily a playmaking player. He loves to have the puck on his stick, controls the puck very well in the offensive zone. He's not a sniper. Now, he does possess the ability to be a 20-goal scorer. He does have a good shot on the power play, especially when he does decide to use it. But again, primarily, he's a guy who's a distributor of the puck. And when the people around you aren't scoring, it's hard to get assists. So, Pavel Buchnevich was snake bitten. I couldn't. It took forever for him to score not a goal, but a 5-on-5 goal. And finally, he scored one. And then Dylan Holloway, he would just, for whatever reason, he was healthy again after last season, skating well, doing all those things, but he couldn't find the net. Jake Neighbors got injured. He was hot. I think he had 6 goals in his first 7 games or something like that. And then he got hurt, and then when he came back, it took him forever to score. So for someone like Robert Thomas, who relies on some snipers around him to score goals, when they're not scoring goals, offensively, it kind of dries up for that individual too.
I have to ask you about the goaltending. A lot of interested Canadian fans who remember the heroics of Jordan Binnington in the Four Nations last year, expecting him to be on the team, and I still do believe that he will be. But man, Jamie, the numbers are not pretty. .869 save percentage, a goals against a .349. But where's Binnington? Where's Binner at right now as we get into this stretch? And just thoughts on him for Canada at the Olympics.
Yeah, so I'll attack this in reverse. As far as the Team Canada thing is concerned, one, I think he will be on that team. And for people who are listening that, are certainly obviously huge Team Canada fans, I wouldn't worry about Jordan Binnington. He will be every bit ready for that tournament. He's a big game goalie, and with the team around him, like the Canadian players will be, he will be just fine. In fact, he might be sensational for that matter. Now, leading back to this season, the team defense has not been good for the Blues. It has not been good. The first part of their season, the defensive zone, they couldn't figure it out. There were a lot of backdoor tap-ins, net front goals. Like the goals where the goalie has not much of a chance to make a save, those were going in. And, those don't, the numbers only tell the story of save percentages down, goals against are high. It doesn't tell you how the goals happened. Wide open players, backdoor one-timers to an open net. They don't depict those situations, at least not on the surface anyways. So for Jordan Binnington, it hasn't been great. There's been some games where, I'm just going to be honest, he has not been very good. And, I don't think any one player is absolved of the team not playing to its potential. But certainly the goaltender position, that carries a little more weight because of how important that position is. And Joel Hofer struggled to start the season as well. Now, Joel Hofer's played much better recently, but for whatever reason, the goaltending situation, he hasn't been able to steal games for the Blues. And, that is a concern, whether it's the team defense overall, whether it's the goaltending, whether it's the high danger opportunities that are given up. Either way, as well as anybody that if you can't keep goals out of your net, you can't win in the National Hockey League.
No, there's no doubt about that. Jamie, coming out of last year's first round series, I think we all expected both of these teams to be continuing to be contenders in the Central Division. We sort of laid out where they are right now. Well, how's Monty handling these things? Jim Montgomery, the head coach. I mean, you knew that they felt like they were on the precipice of taking a big step forward with what they were able to do last season and in that series against Winnipeg. I can't imagine it's been a smooth sailing for the head coach.
No, it hasn't. And look, Monty is about as positive of an individual as you'll find. He loves to laugh, loves to have a good time. He's definitely the guy. It's like the power of positive thinking, and it's been tough. There have been patches this year where you can see on his face and in his words the frustration of talking about the same things over and over again, whether the team is not ready to start on time, whether the team is not tough enough in front of their net or in front of the other net, not defending well enough, not shooting the puck enough. All these things that, the coaching staff is showing the team. They're telling the team. They're coaching them. It was just a couple of games ago where, there was a bunch of net front goals that were given up. And Jim Montgomery, the next morning, had video sessions, 5 or 6 different clips showing the defensemen, that we're not boxing out. We're not paying attention to the guy in front. And then what happens? You go out and play a game where nothing changes. And that was the game against Nashville. Nashville put 7 on the board against them. So it's been frustrating for sure for the entire coaching staff. But by no means is anybody here in St. Louis, not from a media standpoint, nor the front office, singling out Jim Montgomery in this little patch of bad hockey. But at some point, the coach is getting frustrated, so there's going to be changes that are made. What those changes are, again, I 100% do not believe it's a coaching change, but at some point something has to give, which means players will probably be made available at some point. Players at Army or the front office here, Alex Steen, feel that they're expendable, or they're players that can get us a good return and start to improve this team.
It's funny having this conversation about these two teams where they are right now in the standings on the wrong side of the playoff line. And listen, for the Jets, who had such a great season last year and won the President's Trophy with really high expectations, there's been borderline panic around the team, especially when Connor Hellebuck was out. From a Blues perspective, as underwhelming as the first 30 have been, I imagine it's a little different in St. Louis, considering the Blues' incredible history, specifically in 2019, of being the worst team at New Year's and winning the damn cup, and even last year having a massive second half of the season to get in and be that team that faced Winnipeg in the first round.
Yeah, those two things alone keep the talk around the water cooler a little more optimistic than probably it should be at times. But you know as well as I do, like, that's not the recipe for consistent success. So 2019, let's just be honest, 2019 may have been the most historical run of any team in National Hockey League history to be so terrible come the new year and then go on to win the Stanley Cup the way they did. I don't remember it ever happening before, and I certainly don't know of a time in the future that it might have repeated itself, you know? And then last year they go on a tear of, was it 12 or 13 games in a row to finish the season, and they needed every single one. They ended up tied with the Wild and won in the tiebreaker to get into the playoffs. So as much as those are things to look back on and go, oh, hey, look, anything is possible, they're also outliers as well, too, because most of the time those things don't happen. So that's why I think Doug Armstrong and Jim Montgomery are trying to fix this thing sooner than later, while the teams that are ahead of them in the wild card race they're within reach still. If they get to like 8, 9, 10 points, I mean, forget about it. I mean, the odds tell you that that's not going to be your year.
You know, it is really unfortunate that we didn't get these two teams going at it maybe in the first week of the regular season, considering what happened last year in the playoffs. You know, we had some great chats going in throughout this series, but didn't speak afterwards. I just have to ask you, what was the aftermath like that? I mean, a 1.6 seconds losing in Game 7 and then double overtime, an epic series that was the first one to start, the last one to end. How long did it take? An extra couple days to get to a locker room cleanout day for the guys, considering just the crazy way that one ended?
Yeah, it was tough. You know, a lot of guys, I mean, imagine being so close. So close to pulling a massive upset off in Winnipeg, their home ice. I mean, you had it. If you don't ice the puck, if you make this play, if there's enough of one broken stick, then the next play, like there's the 100 if that happened probably in the last 3-4 minutes of the game. And so, yeah, that's tough to stomach. I mean, for any athlete or any competitive person overall, you get so close to something that you're desiring so much, and then it's ripped away from you. That stings, and that did. It stung for a while, and you know the coaching staff here was not happy. And Doug Armstrong, you know, people were celebrating the season because the Blues got back in the playoffs, and hey, it was sooner than we thought. Army was like, no, I'm not happy. I'm not happy because we should have won that. We had them. We had them on the ropes. We let them back in. We had 6-on-5. We gave up the most goals in the NHL last year, playing 6-on-5 against, and it hurt us again in the last seconds of the game in the playoffs. And so there was a lot of anger and a lot of frustration, very little like patting yourselves on the back going, oh, great job, guys. It was more like what could have been, should have been, and we kind of messed it up.
Jamie, always great having you on the program. You mentioned Binnington, and just quickly, Winnipeg native Joel Hofer confirmed as the starter tonight. You mentioned he didn't have a great start. It does seem from afar like he's been a lot better right now. Just quickly, how's the Winnipeg native been as of late, heading into this big divisional game tonight against his hometown team?
He's been really good. He really has. The last 5 starts, I'd say, have been very good. Any games where there's been maybe a higher number of goals, go back, watch the highlights. You'll see just how many saves Joel Hofer's making. He's faced 14, 15, 16 shots in a period, giving up 0 or 1 goal at a time. He's really fun to watch. He's an unbelievable puck handler. He makes the life for a defenseman so easy. He nullifies a lot of forechecks. And he's just a positive guy. He's fun to talk to, fun to be around. And he's having a good season. He could be having a better season, obviously. The numbers bear it out, too, and certainly the wins and losses for the team overall. But Joe Hofer's he's the goalie of the future.
Jamie, always great having you on the program. Really appreciate you taking the time. Should be 2 hungry teams tonight, desperately looking for 2 points. Looking forward to the 7 p.m. puck drop tonight. And luckily for the Jets and the fans that this game is in St. Louis tonight, because we are under a blizzard warning in Winnipeg. So it'll be a good night just to hunker down and watch what should be a great Central Division matchup. All the best to you and your family at the holiday season, my friend. Thanks for doing this. We'll look forward to catching up in 2026.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it very much. All the best to you and your family and everyone involved in the holiday season. Stay safe up there in the cold winters up in Winnipeg, and look forward to talking to you guys real soon.
All right, great stuff with Jamie Rivers. We'll hear from Scott Arniel, and actually some really cool stuff from Luke Shen in just a second. Hammer after that. So stick around. Hey, listen, we're getting this huge dump. I was just thinking that some of us are probably wishing we maybe went to Princess Auto a little earlier and got our hands on a snowblower for what is to come. Princess Auto, great supporters of ours for so long. And really, I mean, synonymous with Winnipeg, founded and headquartered here, now coast to coast serving Canadians, but with 3 Winnipeg and Manitoba locations to serve you, where you will get the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new. So with Christmas a week away, what we're getting from Mother Nature might be a good reminder that there's a couple of things that might make your winter a heck of a lot easier waiting for you over at Princess Auto. Pop by in store when it's safe to do so. And of course, you can shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. Big shout out to our friends at Chud's Power Sports. Now, there's a place that they're probably fired up about getting 20 plus centimeters of snow, because that means it is game on for snowmobile season in Manitoba. But of course, the Derminator and all the fine folks at Chud's Power Sports are locked and loaded and ready for snowmobile season. They've also got timber sled kits, which I'm going to need to do a little bit of research, but look like motorcycles that you, with a ski on the front, $500 off on those. And then other things for the winter, dominating ice houses for ice fishing season, Argos and Sasquatch vehicles, UTVs, ATVs as well. But of course, great deals right now on Polaris and Arctic Cat sleds as they get ready for Christmas and snowmobile season. And again, you're also going to want to browse their online parts store, TrueNorthParts.com, for Christmas specials that slay the competition. Some amazing deals on clearance gear and accessories there that you'll want to check out as well. Pop over to Chud's Power Sports, Manitoba's Power Sports Superstore for 80 years. Highway 8 and 231 up in Gimli. And as I say, I would love to plan something around the Jetstown takeover where we do not necessarily a takeover, but get a chance to go and hang out with our friends at Chud's Power Sports in person in and around that game in March. Make this Christmas one to remember with Chud's Power Sports, your one-stop Christmas destination for winter fun, trusted brands, and unforgettable deals. Online right now, chudspowersports.com. And I did see some love for Donnie and Manitoba Battery in the chat earlier today. Listen, this is the day. Donnie always says, get ready for winter before winter gets you. This is what he's talking about. So listen, power up for Christmas. Give the gift of power. But just for your own personal, if you're worried about your battery as we're going to be getting into the deep freeze, pop by Manitoba Battery, free battery testing. If you need a new one, you'll get the best price in town, period. Beating the pants off the big box stores while shopping local. But they do have some great Christmas deals on right now. $5 to $10 off all Power Sport batteries, $10 to $20 off booster packs, the $99 ice fishing flasher combo, 12-foot booster cables for under $20, and of course, gift cards as well. Power up Christmas, give the gift of power. Manitoba Battery, Logan Avenue, Dover Court Drive, and online at manitobabattery.com. All right, we should do the Clean Line lines, Reem, for our friends at Clean Line, just before we hear from Coach Arniel. Of course, the Jets just held an optional today, so it was not the full crew out there. Taking the option was Morrissey, Scheifele, Connor, Lowry, Niederreiter, Nyquist, and Nemetsnikov out there. So there was 16 of 23 Jet skaters that were on the ice, We do know it is Hellebuck versus Hofer, but as we get to our Clean Line lines presented by our friends at Clean Line, Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, your local leader for over 40 years and the official plumbing service of the Winnipeg Jets, captain approved by our guy Adam Lowry, we see that the lines are expected to remain unchanged from practice and last game, which is Connor Scheifele and Velarde up front, the big boys together. Niederreiter, Nemetsnikov, and Perfetti. The Lowry line, which is sort of gaining some momentum game over game. Lowry with Iafallo and Morgan Barron. And the fourth line looks to be Jonathan Taves, who will play game number 1100 of his NHL career, along with Cole Koepke and Gustav Nyquist. Josh Morrissey and Dylan DeMello, Dylan Samberg and Neil Pionk, Logan Stanley, the goal-scoring machine, and Luke Schenn, the Jets' third pair. And as we mentioned, Hellebuck gets the start against the Winnipeg native, Joel Hofer. Now, some amazing audio from Luke Schenn, which we're going to get to in just a second. But let's start off with the coach. Here is Scott Arniel on facing the opponent that they know very well from 7 games in the spring. Here's Arnie on the Jets-Blues matchup.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that it's happening, almost at Christmas. I thought it would have happened a lot earlier than this, but yeah, you know what? I think that, like Monty said, it really was a extremely entertaining, physical, exciting series. And both teams right now are trying to find their games, and I would probably say the same thing. I'm hoping this is one that helps spark us as well. And if that can bring out the best in us, again, it usually does during the regular season. Obviously, the playoffs was, it got driven up even higher. But they usually bring out the best in us, whether it's here or in our rink.
All right, well, let's hope that we see the best of the Winnipeg Jets tonight to kick off this road trip. Huge road trip, as we mentioned, heading into Christmas. 3 games, all in the division. We've spent a lot of oxygen talking about where the Jets find themselves right now, which is not where they want to be. Here's Arnie on this upcoming roadie.
I've already said it to them there yesterday before practice. It's one at a time here. Let's get after St. Louis. And, St. Louis and Utah are 2 teams that we're kind of scrambling around with. Obviously, Colorado is off to a fantastic start. But again, this is a team that you want to move forward in the standings. We got to push people behind. And these are the big 2 points for us. And let's focus in on what St. Louis is going to try to throw at us tonight and make sure that we're better than they are.
All right, and one more from Coach Arniel, just on the importance of starting this road trip on a positive note with 2 points.
You got to get off. Any kind of road trip, you got to get off on a good note. And we didn't do that. Obviously, it's something that we have talked about. I talked about first periods, being better in the first, not taking penalties, because it would be a big one, especially in the first 5 minutes, like we've done the last 4, just so we can get ourselves up and running. But again, now having kind of our roster back, that certainly will help things. Build off those 4 games that we did play at home, even though we didn't win them all. The product that we were playing, the game we were playing, not giving up the chances against 4 really good teams, keeping them under 10 in every one of those games will help our chances on the road if we do the same thing.
All right, so there's Coach Scott Arniel. Now, this is, of course, a matchup between the Schenn brothers, and that was a big story in and around the playoff series last spring. And Luke Schenn, for say maybe some warts in his game, is still MVP level quote. And this is just fascinating from Luke Schenn. Check this out. This is Luke on going up against his brother Braden once again for the first time since their epic 7-game series.
I don't know if it's ever just another hockey game. I mean, we don't take these opportunities for granted. Obviously we've gotten the opportunity to play against one another, throughout our careers for a long time now, and play with each other, which was also crazy special looking back at it. But I don't think we take anything for granted. These opportunities don't happen too often, and they won't happen forever. And obviously, it's exciting, and we push each other throughout our whole lives and careers, and talk pretty much every day as well too. And check in with each other, see how each other are doing, and when you get the chance to do this and play against each other, it's certainly special.
It's crazy that like you experienced such a high as an athlete in Game 7, but at the same time, the person you care about pretty much the most experienced equally devastating or low. Is that something like over the summer? Did you guys talk much about that, or is it almost something that you just let it breathe for a while?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about it, but it was just like you said, it was so emotional. I remember sitting on my couch watching that game where I think it was it Minnesota that came back and won that game in regulation that sent us off to play the Blues, and I remember watching that, my heart just sunk, being like, I can't believe I have to play them in the first round here. Just obviously, like I said, we're each other's biggest supporters, and the hard thing for me in the obviously playing them was you're going head to head against them and you're playing physical, and next thing you know you're running into each other, and then after when we're losing in St. Louis here and we're getting smoked in a couple of games here, when you have a tough outing and a tough game, the number one guy who I usually call for advice would be Braden. So when the lines of communication are cut off and he's on the other side of it and you're literally at the hotel just 2 blocks away from his house, it's kind of a strange feeling knowing that you're not talking to the guy you talk to every day about hockey and who's literally pretty much living the same life as you in terms of what he's going through at the rink. So right. It was strange for sure, and we'll look back at it and it was a crazy memory, and like I mentioned earlier, going into the series, our family was torn. They all couldn't believe it. They weren't sure how to react or cheer, whether or not we scored or they scored, or it was just neutral the entire series. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, my dad said before the series he wanted a Game 7 overtime was all he could hope for. Then we got to figure it out from there, and he got what he wanted.
All right, good stuff from Luke Schenn, and it's really interesting hearing from him on just that personal relationship between the two they have throughout the year, and then just how different that was back in the spring. One more from Schenn. We just was talking about both teams that'll be going head-to-head tonight in St. Louis not being where they want to be right now in the standings as we get closer to Christmas and the new year.
When you talk about the ups, you talk about the downs as well too, and yeah, there's certainly been some adversity throughout the course of the year for both teams, and at the end of the day, I think the only thing we can both kind of fall back on is continue to work and compete, and that's the only way to get out of it. So I know obviously there's a lot of pressure on both teams after what happened last year and to do well, and saying that it's still early enough in the season where you get on a run, you can turn things around, but it's obviously going to happen sooner than later. There's just such parity in the league that you can't sit around and wait.
Well, this Blues team and what they did in 2019 would be, now it was really unusual, but there's a classic example where you could be almost at the bottom. I think they were at the bottom of the standings around Christmas, and then they go on this crazy run, right?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the recipe to try to draw it up that way. That was a strange year because they had such a good team on paper, good veteran team, and played the right way. They're big, heavy, and a lot of skill and depth throughout their lineup. And at the end of the day, Binnington got called up and played incredible and went on an incredible run. So it can happen. Who knows if we're going to see that again in our lifetime or not, but it was a crazy run, and for me, just being the older brother and follow that, it was so special to be a part of, and I got to go to Game 5, 6, 7, follow him around and let him chase his dream and winning it, and I was on the ice for Game 7 after they won, and that was pretty special for me to be a part of, and I couldn't be more proud of him.
All right, great stuff from Luke Schenn. 7 o'clock puck drop tonight, as I mentioned. For those of you that are able to make it, would love to see you down at BP Kenaston. We'll be missing a few of the folks from outside of the city that won't be able to make it in, but we will certainly do another one into the new year. But tonight, 7 p.m., it's Jets and Blues. Hey, before we get into Jeff Hamilton, I do want to throw out the why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. And is this just about the road trip? How many points in these next 3 games would it take for you to feel it was a successful road trip for the Winnipeg Jets? knowing that they're going up against 3 divisional opponents, including the Colorado Avalanche, all on the road, but how desperately they need them. Let us know in the chat. We'll get to some fan feedback a little bit later on for fansfirst.ca. But let's bring in the Hammer, Jeff Hamilton from the Winnipeg Free Press. Hammer, what's going on? How are you today?
I'm doing well, my friend. I'm currently on vacation. I'm actually off till the new year, a couple days into the new year. So I've been enjoying my week. I was at Thermail yesterday when I noticed the weather was going to be what it was yesterday. I took full advantage. What a beautiful spa day. So did the solo mission, logged a full 8 hours there, which was ridiculous.
You seriously?
yeah. I have a little bit of a weird routine, but it was I'm fully refreshed, my friend, and ready to give my takes.
Did you fall asleep there?
You know what? I don't usually. I have a hard time napping. I don't know. I've got a lot of people out there. I just have a hard time sleeping. I can't sleep on planes. I can't unless I'm completely exhausted. I can't really nap. And to answer your question, I kind of went by the sleeping area and it was packed. Kind of turned me off. Like going in there eventually when it was a packed house. So I kind of just dismissed it and just eased up on the relaxing part.
Well, your timing was good because, I don't know how much people are going to want to be outside at all over the next little bit. Again, we managed to really do a great job of picking a day a month ago for our holiday watch party. Feel bad for a bunch of the people outside of the city that aren't going to be making it in, and we'll see how well we're doing after the BP trying to get out of there with what could be blizzard or expected to be blizzard conditions. But listen, I want to get to the Bombers in a minute, but let's start off with the Jets. I mean, we were just saying to people for the why not question of the day. I mean, like what do the Jets need to do to going into the break in this trip? I mean, to me, it's a minimum of 2 wins out of these 3 games. The key ones being tonight and Sunday with the Blues in Utah. With the bar that the Avalanche have put up so far this year, I mean, you can't really expect to win going into Denver, but you sure would like to do it. I mean, thoughts on this team that's 500 on the nose, 15-15 and 2 after 32 games with 50 remaining in the schedule before tonight's puck drop in St. Louis.
Yeah, they're in one. I mean, this is not at all the way they anticipated this season going. Certainly didn't look at a late December date in St. Louis against a division rival as a characterized. And I heard you guys before talking about whether this was a must win. Like we've been kind of using must win again a lot more than I think many people would have
using
predicted.
some can't lose
lose and must win.
But
And the thing is it's
like must win.
And I know people. It's such a polarizing statement, right? Because there's people who whether they support the team or not will fall on this argument. Well, they aren't going to be eliminated if they don't win this game. Like this isn't a must win. Like, and of course it's not a must win in that respect. It's not a win and move on situation, but it's a must win from your own expectations. That's, I think, where it comes down to is that, you have to expect inside that locker room, a member of that team, coaching staff, that you must beat the St. Louis Blues. Like the St. Louis Blues are not the team. I mean, I understand where they were in the playoffs last year and how it took a Manitoba miracle for the Jets to get past them, but they're not a team that went into this season as juggernauts like the Winnipeg Jets are. So this game was always going to be viewed as a must win or a can't lose, whatever you want to classify it as, because the Jets are supposed to be a better team and this is a divisional opponent. So yeah, this game has a lot of pressure to it. And, to the point that the team's making, the coaching staff, the players, you can't just, and what Adam Lowry made a comment weeks ago, you can't make up all those points in one game. So you have to treat it game to game. And that's a challenge for fans, as they continue to watch a season that hasn't lived up to their expectations. And that's incredibly difficult for a team even who expected to be in a better position, right? To not be holding the stick so tight and watching the standings so tightly. And so it's just created a little bit of a different vibe. And so at this point, I mean, you can look at, should they beat St. Louis? Absolutely. Look at the Blues, look at their roster right now. They're depleted, right? If if the Winnipeg Jets had the same injuries, and we've seen that this season that the Blues are facing right now, we would be having a much different conversation where the Jets are at. So this is an opportunity for them, to beat a divisional opponent, and more importantly, to get those 2 extra points. And then you can think about Utah at this point. And then the opponents after. At this point, you have to think about the person in front of you, because you haven't proven to the league or to anybody else that you even have the luxury. Even the good teams don't have that luxury. They don't ever look 2 games ahead or a game ahead. They always look at what's facing them. So the Jets, my feeling of this team is we still don't really know what I know a lot of people have written them off and talked about this team is a shell of themselves from last year. And I think that argument is sound in certain respects, but there's still 50 games remaining in this season. And if you're going to count the Winnipeg Jets, if they're certainly not counting themselves out, there's still lots of runway to figure out exactly who they are. It's just, you got to get some of those good feelings back in the room and again, stack those games so that, not just you inside, but people on the outside can believe what you're doing too.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this, heading out onto the road, got a lot more confidence and optimism because of a certain guy that wears 37 that came back in on Saturday night. Well ahead of schedule. And I kind of think speaks to, the player that he is, and also the plight of the team as to how they looked without Connor Hellebuyck in. And obviously they left one on the table and regretted not getting the full 2 points against Ottawa. But it was glaring to see how different the team looked with Hellebuyck in net as opposed to Eric Comrie, who was carrying the mail most of the time he was out.
Well, we know all the tangibles, Huss, right? The tangibles are what the voters used to vote him as the Hart Trophy winner last year. And of course, the Vezina Trophy winner is the best player in the league. Those are the tangibles. You see them every night, the big saves, all those moments in a game. The intangible is simply his presence. And, there's only, I'm going to say there's only a handful of people in the NHL. There's a handful of those players on each team where their impact when they're there versus when they're not, even, from the on ice perspective, obviously, again, the tangible stuff, it's what they bring, that confidence they bring. It's like having that, like a Dustin Byfuglien on your bench, right? When you go into enemy territory, knowing that you have a guy who can literally grab 2 individuals with each one of his hands and toss them aside, right? You play bigger, right? You hear that often. Well, you just have a confidence when your goalie, who's Connor Hellebuyck, takes things as personal as he does in the crease, right? He's a guy who's probably going back to his old system of thinking, Huss. Don't you think this a little bit, where he's like, it's not me, it's not me. Like, I can't be the guy who, I got to let myself off the hook. There's absolutely no way he didn't get back into the crease and was like, okay, guys, time to turn things around, right? And you saw that in the Washington game, and of course he missed out in that game against the Sens, but he battles to a great place, and the team looks better around him. You know what I mean? So now again, it goes back to stacking those games, but this does feel like a different team because it is a different team when Connor Hellebuyck's there. When Connor Hellebuyck's just standing in the crease, everyone feels a little bit more at ease. Everyone feels a little more confident. You often hear teams can play better in front of their backup, which is often the case. That's because they're playing more tense. They're more concerned. They're more worried. They're playing less free, right? You don't want a team to be playing freely in front of a goaltender and him getting lit up or getting a ton of chances against them. But you want to maybe, again, not be holding your stick as tightly when you know you have that guy who's probably going to bail you out more often than not. And that's what we've seen with Connor Hellebuyck really throughout his career, and especially now since he's been back, after, as you mentioned, a shorter absence than expected, but still a lengthy one for a team trying to figure things out right now.
Is there a more surprising or better Jets story of this season than Logan Stanley's offensive explosion? Did it again. He's going for 3 games in a row tonight, Hammer.
I know.
What's the Coolbet prop on that? We're going to start having to get him listed in the goal scoring props, which I don't think he's ever been once.
I was going to say, I've been, as someone who dabbles, I've been looking around, and it's just it hasn't made its way there, and then for those who monitor those things, they do happen. Like Dylan Sandberg became a shot machine for a certain spell of time. And then he was showing up on the shot, on the shot prop list. But, I think Big Stan's probably got a little bit to go here to get that kind of respect, if you will. But what a season so far, right? He's capturing the eyes of people, not just here in Winnipeg, of course, who've really treated him like such a polarizing player, for obvious reasons and for valid reasons. But to see him kind of perform the way he has been and to have that performance be on the offensive side of things is certainly up there with story of the year for this team so far, which is a sad reality. I mean, when you think about it, Huss, it's a great side story here. But when you start looking at the goal contributions that Logan Stanley has and compare it to some of his teammates, people who are making significantly more money or are playing a completely different position, it becomes a little less cool, I guess, but certainly cool.
Well, I mean, comparing it to the rest of the team, yes, because there's a lot of guys that have underachieved. What is absolutely nuts is he's 1 goal off the league lead for 5-on-5 goals versus for defensemen. And when you compare the amount that he's played to everybody else on that list, I didn't run the numbers, but I'm pretty sure in goals per ice time, I think he's number 1 in the NHL for goals for ice time. And
for defensemen or for
defensemen.
defensemen? Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I mean,
the list of guys is pretty impressive that we've got here. Hey, speaking of defensemen, just before we transition over to the latest on the Bombers, what were your thoughts about the Quinn Hughes trade? And listen, I mean, if you want to take it from a Jets perspective, you can, because the fact that he came into, I was reading something Athletic today, and it was winners and losers of the trade. And one of the losers was everybody else in the Central Division. The Wild have taken their beats for a long time. They haven't been out of the first round in forever. And Bill Guerin seems to be borderline impatient on wanting to end that. But what a blockbuster trade that, has ramifications around the NHL.
Yeah, I think like everybody else, I think it was certainly shocking. I think a lot of people, myself included, anticipated a New Jersey, trade, obviously, to play with his brothers. I do think it's, to your point, Haas, from the Jets' perspective, it's less than ideal having that defenseman who can play the amount of minutes that Quinn Hughes, racks up on a gamely basis. Yeah, that's tough, but they gave up some pieces too, Huss. It wasn't just a bunch of nobodies. There were some key players in there, obviously a first round pick. But yeah, I think it's super exciting. I find it really interesting. This is a little bit off topic to a certain degree, but just misinformation always comes out of these posts from interviews and stuff. So when I was going down the rabbit hole that was Quinn Hughes, people jump on stuff like, I'll remember, when he talked about how teams, first of all, I thought that was like an AI video, man. When he was talking about Billy Guerin, calling him like Billy, and
it was right after the game,
and sacking up or whatever to take on the trade. I thought it was going to go into one of those AI videos where it was ripping the other teams and individual players. No, it was his actual post game scrum. But I thought it was interesting when he said because everyone's talking about, okay, they get him for 2 years. What's the future going to look like? That's where my kind of head went. And it's when he started talking about how it was going to be he was going to remember there are other teams, right? Bill Guerin did man up, if you will, or gave up major pieces. And that he would remember that. Everyone kind of looked at it as he was looking at the other teams in the league and being I know you didn't do it. That felt to me, it was providing hope while hope still should exist for the Wild. I'm not saying that he's not going to be dealt a big deal in the future here, but it felt more like he was kind of just dismissing that kind of stuff, but giving credit to Bill Guerin. But I thought, it will be really interesting. Look at what they paid Kaprizov, right? He's right in, he's gonna demand more money, arguably, than that. So it will be interesting to see where this thing goes. But yeah, as far as the present stands, Minnesota just got more legit, and they were already having a pretty good season. So, bad news for Jets fans, great news for their biggest rivals fan base.
Well, and that's why, with 50 games left in the season, we're locked on the wild card teams, because it is really, barring an absolute bottom out by one of Dallas, Colorado, or Minnesota, I'm not expecting it. This is wild card territory right now. So we're talking about, scoreboard watching the Sharks and Utah, the Blackhawks, and the St. Louis Blues, Seattle Kraken. All these teams that are in the mix outside of that top 7
all
that
bad
now
teams.
Includes the Edmonton Oilers, and that's the one thing that's in the Jets' favor. I mean, I've been kind of saying like, okay, 95
It's a bad
points.
group of teams.
It
there.
might not be 95 points this year. Certainly, if you prorated where all these teams are right now, it might barely be 90. But again, we're talking about 7 teams. Like, someone's got to win games, right? Someone's got to get hot.
For sure.
So, I mean, it will take that, and that's got to start tonight for the Jets in St. Louis. Big one at the beginning of this 3-game road trip. Well, let's talk Bombers for a minute. Brady Oliveira back for 3 years at big money. This is a guy that, had sort of said that we expected he was going to be at least listening to offers of free agency, and the Bombers put together and said, no, we don't want that. Very aggressive offer that got him to forego unrestricted free agency and signing certainly the biggest running back contract in the history of the team.
Yeah, it was massive. I mean, it was a huge signing for Brady Oliveira personally, as he decides his near future here. 3 years. I know it's not an eternity, but it is kind of an eternity when you compare it to other contracts around the league. So to have him,
when was the last 3-year running back contract given out in the CFL?
It's been a while. It's been quite some time. Absolutely has been. And so, I mean, he's, and it just goes to show that Brady's no ordinary quarterback, right? Like I found it funny that, like, this news breaks and all of a sudden, the news out of Calgary is like Dedrick Mills is going to be, look at the bag coming his way. And it's like, that's not how it works in the Canadian Football League. Like, I'm not saying Mills doesn't deserve a raise over what he got last year, but he ain't getting anywhere close to $300,000 a year, despite his, age, which he's younger, I believe, and his dominance, which was equivalent or near last season, because he's American, right? Like that passport matters with Brady, and the effectiveness with the passport is even more important. So, massive contract for both sides, for Winnipeg too, right? Winnipeg took its licks last season, and they're going to have to kind of come in with some better energy this year, right? There was a lot of disappointment at the end of last season, particularly around the offense. So, getting your hometown hero locked up for 3 years is a big help in changing or shifting that narrative that kind of currently exists. One thing I found was really interesting, Huss, was it sounds like that Brady was expecting a bit more of a fight. It sounded like he was expecting a bit more of, when I say fight, I mean a more difficult negotiation. That's probably likely because of how his last negotiation went. I know there was a lot of different reports out there that talked about the BC Lions, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, maybe even some other teams that offered Brady more money in that, when he was looking for an extension in Winnipeg. And those conversations weren't, I think they were a little more, and I don't want to say tense in that they were negative, but I do think that the Bombers weren't going to be, giving that kind of money, right? So I think Brady felt a little bit like he gave some up, over that, especially after that first year where he was named the league's most outstanding player. Like even at the end of this season, even before the season was over, it felt like, he had, kind of been underpaid, and in reality he was. And then you saw the Philpott, the Philpott contract in Montreal, making him, a $300,000 receiver, and you knew the pressure was on for Winnipeg. So, I always had the attitude that, the Bombers weren't going to lose him, much like with Mike O'Shea, with the concern of him potentially leaving or moving on. It wasn't going to be a money thing. That being said, I don't think Winnipeg wanted to go too crazy. And I think Brady also understands, the salary cap and the need to play ball to a certain degree so that you can, have some money left over to bring in and to pay some of the other talented guys on your roster. So this one to me was, was quicker than I imagined, quicker than I thought it would be. But again, once that Philpott contract came out and essentially put the ceiling, I know they're different positions, but put the ceiling as a marquee Canadian at $300,000, it became, to me, it became a little less like, stop fighting. Don't fight him over this one. Get the guy that you need who, and here's the other thing about Brady. Brady's an ambassador to the city. Brady's not just a Winnipeg native. He's a great human. He's He's in the community. He's obviously, we all know his, the work he does with dog rescues and advocacy groups. Like, he's a guy that you want to have on your team. He's not a guy who's going to go get liquored up in the off season and have a crazy off season and come into camp out of shape. Like, he's a guy who you're going to get the absolute best from. So to me, this was a no-brainer. And again, like as great as it is for Brady, who gets to flex a little bit here, right? Brady likes doing those things. He likes being paid. He likes setting the new bar. He talks about it quite often, and he believes in himself. So great for him, but also great for the Bombers organization to have such a face of your franchise for the next 3 seasons when he's not even in his 30s yet.
Yeah, you know what? Great points. I mean, obviously, the first things first. I mean, on the field, the guy won the MOP a couple of years ago.
Totally.
I mean, it speaks for itself amongst the league. But you talk about, what he means to the organization here in the city of Winnipeg. I mean, that has a lot of value. But what you just mentioned about, his commitment to the game, the teammate that he is, that is a huge part of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers culture, the culture that they have built under Mike O'Shea as Brady came in as a rookie and developed into a CFL All-Star. And it's interesting that it is a 3-year deal in that, they have cost certainty. They're paying him top dollar, but there's going to be, the last remnants of this era that went to the 5 straight Grey Cups is probably going to be off the roster in a year or two. And Brady Oliveira, maybe more than anybody right now, beginning with the first game of next season, seems to be sort of the culture carrier for this group moving forward as a real leader on the team and in the room.
Yeah, absolutely. And kind of already has been, the last couple of years, even before he was named MOP that year when he was working closely with Jason Hogan, he was kind of becoming a guy who almost had to convince himself that his voice mattered, right? Like as a leader, right? I always think he viewed himself as, like, especially as the heir apparent to Andrew Harris. Like, I think he viewed himself as a young guy because he is a young guy and he's always been a mature young guy. We all know his upbringing and, his life story, but I don't think he felt like he was allowed to speak up, as early as a couple of years ago. That's certainly after winning MOP. And I'm not trying to paint this situation like he came out of his shell. He was always a very personable person and whatnot. But I think when it came to the team dynamic, it really took some steps in that direction as being one of the main faces for the leadership core. To your point, Huss, how many more years can you look at this dynasty era, if you will, or Grey Cup era? And, whether that's on the O-line with Stanley Bryan and Patrick Neufeld, like it's trending like they both want to be back and will be back for another year. So we'll see if that, plays out. Cole Nkowski is another guy. He's not, I don't think his age is up there, but, as a guy who might, who knows what his future looks like. But Willie Jefferson, Jake Thomas, 2 very different schools of thought there. Does Jake Thomas have another year in him, right? The longest tenured guy. Is Willie Jefferson going to be continued to be a guy that's leaned on in the defense to the degree he has been for years? So I think the time is running out, certainly for some of the OG leaders, if you will, of this era. But you have seen a lot of players kind of move into that leadership group more over the last couple of years. Even guys like Red Hawk Kramdi, right? Guy who's been a leader on the defense for years and a vocal guy for sure. He's kind of taken that step now with the, with the exits of Adam Bighill, Brandon Alexander, and some of the more vocal veterans who were leaned on as some of those leaders. So there has been a bit of a changing of a guard, but I agree with you. There's still that group, right? And I think that's the whole point here, is to establish that core group. And I'm not saying that they're trying to shift people out. I think they need to have maybe another year of a Patrick Neufeld, of Stanley Bryant, or maybe, I'm not trying to limit those guys. Maybe it's a couple of years, but I'm just saying another year to bring in that crew. And then maybe there is more of a formal passing of the torch. This is the problem with that, Huss. And I noticed this with the locker cleanup, was that, like, and I noticed this mostly off Zach's press conference. And him talking about how when he comes back next year, like, he wants the band back together to do it right. And that's probably the one thing I disagreed with, in the wrap-up thing. It felt desperate. And if Winnipeg...
The band last year wasn't playing sweet music,
that's
Jeff.
what I mean. So, like, it felt desperate. And, like, the Bombers in that era have been dominant, not desperate. And when I heard those kind of that kind of pleading to kind of like, let's bring the band back again next year. It felt more like good times and actual championship aspirations. So I know that the front office doesn't feel that way, and I'm not saying that it's going to be a max exodus of veterans, but there needs to be, and there has been, this changing of youth moving in, and that has to take another step this offseason. And Brady Oliveira, while a recognizable face for years with this team, is still in that young group, and he'll be, again, leaned on heavily to maybe even lead that group, much like we saw Andrew Harris lead that group for years while he was here in Winnipeg.
Hey, Hammer, quickly, two things. Latest on the OC search, and I'm just seeing this afternoon, just before we went on, Brock Sunderland leaving the Bombers to go to the Hamilton Tiger Cats as their senior director of player personnel.
Yeah, he just came in last year for the Bombers, I believe, as they were kind of doing their shifting. Obviously, with Ted leaving, they did a little bit of a shift in how they handled their executive group. That's an interesting one. I don't know about the timing, if it's good or bad. The OC stuff, Huss, I feel like I'm going to lose my bet here, unless the Bombers are looking to create some news prior to Christmas, which, as we know, is the days are kind of numbering here or whatever. But I would have assumed, and I still will assume, that it's not far off if it's not already been made. That's the thing. Like, I'm not even ruling out a decision being made on a Tommy Condell or a Jarius Jackson. I will say I haven't heard any new names added to the list. I don't know if that's good or bad news. But at the same time, you're signing players, right? But you're signing players that, whether it's Tommy Condell or whether it's, Jarius Jackson or somebody else, anyone would want to have Brady Oliveira as their running back, as an option in their offense. So that's not exactly as telling as it might be if we start seeing more. I'd say if we start seeing more signings on offense, us including on the O-line, then we are dealing with an OC that's already in place that just hasn't been announced. Because I just, as different maybe that the Bombers do some things, this to me is not one of them. So I'm not going to make any more predictions as we near towards the holiday break here, but I still think there's an opportunity for the Bombers to announce it before Christmas. But if they don't, then I see this being some news that comes pretty soon into the new year, if not before New Year's Eve.
Hammer, great stuff, buddy. Best of the season to you. And if you're out and about tonight, BP Kenniston will be watching the game. Lots of people wondering if there'll be a Hammer appearance. So if you're able to join us, we would love to see you then.
Always a pleasure, my friend. We'll see how this evening goes. I'm going second by second on vacation, so always a pleasure, and certainly happy holidays to you and Remo and everyone at Winnipeg Sports Talk, and of course the listeners as well. I haven't said this message for a while since my sign off used to be my tagline, but obviously the most important part of these operations is the community, the commitment from the community. So happy holidays to everybody. Be safe. And try to enjoy yourself a little bit here as the weather creeps in. Winnipeg weather creeps in nicely here on a wild time. Wednesday.
Oh, and you know what? A perfect time to remind everyone that the two of us will be plying our trade at the Costa Rica Poker Festival. And Monday is another chance to both win bounties by taking us out in the tourney, and also to book your ticket to the finals for Costa Rica, which is on January 12th. So
speaking of that, we didn't even get into that. Not that we'll go do it really quickly here, but so I got bounced. I didn't make it to the final. Didn't get payday. Eagle Eyes, give him credit.
Eagle Eyes.
Did he end up winning?
He did. Well, Eagle Eyes, yours truly, no bounties were collected.
You never messaged me. Nice, good for you.
And Beelzebub and Machine Blank were
okay. Nice.
And then because I was top 4, we gave one to, I think it was PLP Jets.
Okay, nice. Yeah, right on. Yeah, he played well. He or she, I'm assuming it's a he, just because I think you were talking about him before. I think he won the last one, didn't he? Or came close to winning the last one?
Ooh, Eagle Eyes or Machine Blank?
Eagle Eyes.
Yeah. No? Eagle Eyes has been in there before. Cashed.
Yeah, no, he was
sharp player.
It was good. He caught me on the perfect hand. He got me right where he wanted me. I had 2 pair Jack 10. There was a bunch of faces on the board, and and a ace, and he had pocket bullets. So, kudos to him for knocking me out. And I look forward to getting back into my regular payout positions come Monday. So looking forward to that, and congratulations to everybody who qualified. You're one step closer to the trip of a lifetime with me and the Hussman. So
yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Monday, December 22nd, last chance qualifier, January 7th, 8 p.m. And hopefully we'll see you guys there, courtesy of our friends over at Coolbet. Have a great one, dude.
Thanks, my friend. Take care.
Speaking of Coolbet, how nice is that hat that Hammer was wearing? I think he picked that up at our the party when the boys were all in town. Patty's going to join us tomorrow on the program. Now, we were hoping to hook up with Dustin from Kids Sport, but we might do that on tomorrow's show because we are up against it's a game day. We want to get it up, and Thomas Tipple's going to join us because we've got a huge game tomorrow night in the NFL. Pat's going to join us tomorrow on that. But again, tonight, 7 p.m., BP Kenniston. I know there were some people that were planning on coming that aren't going to be able to make it because of the weather, but the game will go on. The drinks will be had. The pizza will be delicious. 7 o'clock, BP Kenniston tonight. If you want to join us, we'd love to see you there. And hey, maybe I'll see if Greg from Royal can make it out tonight, and some of the fellas. Greg, though, is busy, as is everyone at Royal Sports right now, because if you're thinking about sports fans, Winnipeg Jet fans, for Christmas, Royal Sports is the place to go, period. It always has been for 50 years. But, I mean, right now, if you go in, now you might need a little bit of time to get through the entire store because no one has more stock. But that is the one place where you are guaranteed to be able to go in and find the perfect gift for the sports fan in your family. When it comes to fan merch, I mean, Jet fans, they have it all at Royal Sports. And if you want to personalize a jersey, get in and do that soon. Obviously, there's a lot being made, but your favorite Jets, name and number, multiple styles of jerseys as well that they've got in stock. But they've also got, you want a Bedard, you want a Celebrini, a Leo Carlson. Listen, they've got jerseys from around the National Hockey League and pretty much all NHL teams represented. The best in NFL merch, Blue Jays and Major League Baseball, Raptors, NBA, international soccer, Team Canada gear with the World Cup coming up. I think that would be a great gift. You want an Alphonso Davies jersey? They've got some of those. So get ready for Christmas with one stop at Royal Sports. Great stick deals on right now. We know how expensive hockey sticks are, up to 50% off. A ton of hockey sticks on the floor, equipment. And make sure you check out what Greg and the guys have going on at the Kings Skate, Snow, and Surf side. An amazing Yeti section. Of course, the snowboard department. There's just so much waiting for you at Royal Sports. So get on down there before Christmas. Take care of that list and make someone a very, very happy individual. Coming up on December 25th, 750 Pembina Highway. Check them out on Instagram as well for the latest merchandise drops and sale information heading into the holidays. All right, Thomas Tipple is going to join us in just a couple minutes. Let's give a big cheers to our friends at Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, good stuff. Hey, just before we bring in Thomas, want to get to a little fan feedback for fansfirst.ca, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market, where what you see is what you pay. No added fees now or ever at Fans First. There's a lot of love for Brady Oliveira coming out of here. Issue Boy Bruce, super stoked to have Brady back. LFG. Phyllis, Brady rescues puppies. He's an earthly angel for doing what he does in the offseason. And then It's your boy Bruce. Now give him the ball. Exactly. All the time from MC Stormy. The job interview for OC should be, do you promise to give the Brady the ball every chance you get, no matter what? And then comment asking if Osh could do both jobs. That is not happening. I don't think so. And then earlier I was also asking about how many points you think the Jets need on this trip to be a positive one. I'm seeing a few 4s. T-Quota Pauly, 5 points min, which means 2 wins and an OT loss, which means at least being even with the Avalanche. I would take that. I would take that in a heartbeat. MC Story, see, need a win tonight to put the confidence into the fellas. Brent F, 4 to 6 points, period. Keep it coming throughout the show. Fan feedback brought to you by Fans First. By fans, for fans, no fees. Check out the site today at fansfirst.ca. And many of you will be able to have these takes in person tonight with our little holiday watch party down at BP Keniston. Let's welcome in our pal Thomas Tipple from fantasypoints.com. Best of the season to you, my friend. How did week 1 of the playoffs go for you and your million franchises?
Look, up and down, to say the least, up and down. I had a team that had Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson in my super flex spots, and I lost to a team that started Phillip Rivers and Dallas Goedert. If you don't know, Dallas Goedert is a tight end. That team got bounced from the playoffs. So we preach all the time, if you're playing fantasy, secure the bye week no matter how you have to do it. If you got to spend a little more, this is more dynasty, but if you have to spend a little more for a player to help push you to the bye week, it matters so much because this game is so random. Did you know that Shedeur Sanders and Phillip Rivers outscored Joe Burrow this weekend? You never know what's going to happen in fantasy. You have to be able to take the punches, and that is a lot easier when you have the bye week.
Well, I'm glad you're here to lead on you. Maybe we'll look at a couple props for the weekend. I want to talk to you about this game tomorrow night. But I will tell you that I'm moving on. I am putting last weekend in the rearview mirror forever. I get this, dude. And listen, we do this. I've been doing it for 20 years, picking games and playing fantasy. This was without a doubt the worst weekend I have ever had. I went 0 for 5 against the spread.
Oof.
I went 0-5 in the fantasy playoffs. And I mean, that's impossible. It's not like I have the same team playing everybody else. And I wasn't just losing. I lost by 100 points in a match. None of them were even close except for the one, Jason Myers, the kicker for Seattle, with that 54-yarder at the end, ended up getting the points that this guy needed, gave him this kicker 24, and lost that one too. And then to top it all off, my Chiefs are out of the playoffs, and my quarterback's got a torn ACL.
Yeah.
So it will never get worse than it was for me on the weekend. So I'm looking forward to talking to Pat and Jake on Friday morning and moving on. But it was
it gets worse. You got Rashee Rice has a concussion.
Yeah, I mean, listen, whatever. Hopefully he'll be good for week 1 next year. Definitely worried about the franchise, but
he's got to stay on the right path. He's got 5 years of probation, and he's
I'm more worried about his off season than any late season injury, to be perfectly honest with you, for Rice. One thing that's interesting though, I will say this, and I mean, listen, I don't expect everyone to watch every play of the Chiefs like I do, but Rashee Rice, I think, has been hit more in the last 2 games than he's been touched in his entire career. I mean, just getting absolutely smoked. And I don't know whether this is part of the Matt Nagy offense right now. I mean, I really hope they make a change, but I mean, it was wild to see how beat up he was getting over the course of these last couple. Listen, before we talk about the weekend, listen, the Christmas schedule's ruined by some of the teams that have kind of bottomed out, including the Chiefs.
It's so bad.
But holy smokes, I mean, what a Thursday nighter we've got tomorrow. And I mean, just for football fans, never mind fantasy, for betting, it's basically a pick 'em. I mean, give us your thoughts on the Rams Seahawks tomorrow night in a game that could absolutely determine the winner of the division and potentially the 1 seed in the NFC.
Yeah, this feels like an interesting matchup. You remember the last time they played? This was Sam Darnold's multi-interception game, but the Rams still only
barely won.
They narrowly won the game, and Seattle's defense, one of the best, but they couldn't totally shut down a Phillip Rivers-led offense by the Colts last week. They barely snuck that game out. I'm so mad that I missed this show last week because I didn't get the chance to talk about Phillip Rivers and his anytime over of 0.5 touchdowns like that. Just I'm so mad that I missed that opportunity. But looking at this week, Darnold, who has been pretty good against the cover 3, which the Rams deployed at 34.7%. He averages 10.54 yards per attempt with an 11.8 completion percentage over expectation. He smokes that coverage. So I'm looking for Jackson Smith and Jigba and his over 9 100-yard games on the season. Historic pace. You can just smash over 4.5 receptions. You can just kick that in and create a parlay with that. That's just an absolute lock. He's going to get it. The one I'm interested in is Rashid Shaheed, since being acquired, has kind of left a lot to be desired. But of late, 9 for 141 on 12 targets in the last 2 weeks. I'm kind of taking the Rashid Shaheed over on his total yards. I believe I got it at 57.5. Check your local books. I am not touching Ken Walker. Like, Kenneth Walker is not going to be in a bet of mine the rest of the season. I'm done. This split backfield in Seattle is disgusting. I'm tired of looking at it. It hurts me to watch. But what I am looking to, if you want an anytime touchdown bet, now betting on touchdowns, it can be the murkiest thing to bet on. It's so much variance involved. But Colby Parkinson has 3 touchdowns in his last 2 games, and Devontae Adams not playing this game. He picked up, if you watched the game last week, he went down in a heap. I feared ACL or Achilles, non-contact. He just aggravated his hamstring, and he's getting up there in age. And I can tell you at 37, if I just bend the wrong way and my hamstring goes, I'm not moving the next day. So I don't think he's at practice. No reports of him. I don't think they're going to risk it. They need him for the playoffs. With him out and no Tyler Higbee, Colby Parkinson becomes a huge player in the touchdown game. And it's hard to deny. 5 for 75 and 2 on 7 targets, 86% snap share, season high 24.5 fantasy points against the Lions. He scored touchdowns in 5 of his last 6 games, 3+ receptions in 5 of his previous 6. Colby Parkinson is the sneaky bet because his lines are not going to be too aggressive. He is a player you can stack multiple picks in a parlay, tie that in with a Kyron Williams anytime touchdown, and maybe a 1.5 over on the Matthew Stafford touchdowns, because Matthew Stafford is pulled away in the MVP race right now, and I feel like McVay is going to try to horseshoe it in on prime time, really let him go to town and throw a couple here and secure that MVP.
Yeah, listen, I think the winning is paramount, but to do it and help their quarterback get a little bit more of a nudge for that MVP, and there's nothing like the primetime games to help people do exactly that.
Lamar Jackson's last MVP was won on a primetime Christmas game against the San Francisco 49ers. That MVP was Brock Purdy's. And then what happened? Lamar Jackson came in on Christmas Day, absolutely went crazy, and all of a sudden runaway, nearly unanimous, should have been his second unanimous, but one not so protected Bills writer that didn't release his name, anonymous Bills writer, refused to vote Lamar that year. Would have been 2 unanimous, but I digress.
Hey, listen, before we go, what have you liked so far for the upcoming week? I've already spent a little bit of time perusing the Fantasy Points data suite and the research. And again, this is something that can help you all year long at fantasypoints.com. But you got 2 or 3 that you've already cooked up that people need to look at their local book, which, of course, ours is Coolbet. And I'll be perusing it as you fill us in.
Yeah, so It's a little tough early in the week like it is here on a Wednesday, but that doesn't mean we can't find you a little something here using the power of the Fantasy Points data suite, which is available right now with the Early Bird Special. The Early Bird Special is something we run every year around this time from now until the Super Bowl. It is the cheapest our plans will ever be throughout the season. We only do it this one time. It's 20% off any package. We have a 5% bonus off of that total with promo code THEWORM. Early Bird does indeed get the worm. Next year, if you've liked our betting content, it's getting its own package, so it will be separate. It will cost you more unless you subscribe with the Early Bird. We are rewarding our returning customers, and I know just from checking the numbers, Winnipeg Sports Talk fans have enjoyed themselves a little bit of the Fantasy Points.
Oh, yeah.
.com product. So please, if you are thinking of renewing, use this Early Bird Special. It pays for itself. I mentioned him before, but our guy Justin Varnes, over 65% on just his defensive props alone would pay for your subscription in just a handful of weeks. So it's going to make you money this year. With that being said, I used some of our phenomenal content to cook a few of these. Jacoby Brissett has been a revelation at the quarterback position. He truly has. We're going over 242.5 on the passing yard. That's negative 111 on DraftKings. We have him projected for 276. He's at 249 passing yards in each of his first 5 of his 9 starts. In each of his first 9 starts. Arizona leads the league in pass rate over expectations. That defense sucks so bad they have no choice but to air it out. And of course, that means Michael Wilson. I'm also taking him for 5.5 receptions. Even if Maserati Marv does come back, I still expect Michael Wilson to absolutely ball out. And then the other one I have here is a Jacoby Myers over. Even though it is Denver, they have a great defense. I think Surtain is going to get the Brian Thomas Jr. shadow, which means Jacoby Myers should be able to eat over the middle. Myers has seen 6 targets in his last 5 games and his 2 highest target totals as a Jaguar over his last 2. And Trevor Lawrence is playing a career best. I am taking him also for 1.5 plus passing touchdowns if you want a little parlay there with the Denver and Jags game. I'm also going to take a Bo Nix rushing touchdown just to tie that in. I love that game personally. So we got a couple for the Cardinals. We got a couple for the Jags. We got one for the Broncos. We got a couple for the Seahawks as well. You can stay locked in, fantasypoints.com. We're going to have so many more to come here in the next few days. And remember, there's one thing, Huss, that I tell people, whether they are casual bettors, whether they are diehard and degenerates, keep an eye out for who has incentives bonuses. If you are watching broadcasts, they will talk about it non-stop. There's the famous clip of Gronkowski walking over to Brady in Tampa Bay and saying, "Hey, Tom, I need one more." They were out of the game. They put them back in the game. He gets that one catch, secures a $750,000 bonus. If you don't think these guys want their $750K to a milli, man, I've worked in retail jobs. I worked at a glass shop. I've been blue collar. They put a $50 pizza gift certificate in front of me, and I worked hours of overtime. These guys want their milli. Keep in line. There are a couple of websites you can search up for, and on Twitter specifically, if you want to follow me at El Nostradamus, I'll be posting them. A lot of good follows for who is tracking what. You can also use spotrack.com. They are another phenomenal, over the cap as well, has a lot of stuff on bonuses, give you the edge for your bets along with the Fantasy Points data suite. Earn yourself some money for your Christmas shopping this year, Huss, because I don't know about you, but it's stacking up already.
Thomas, best of the season to you, my friend. Enjoy the game tomorrow. Have a great Christmas. We'll try and catch up before the new year as things shake down for some crucial final weeks of the NFL regular season. All the best.
Can't wait. Take care. Happy holidays, everybody. Stay safe out there.
Good stuff. Give him a follow at El Nostradamus on all your favorite platforms. And again, fantasypoints.com. The Worm is the promo code. All right, we have a game tonight, so we got to get this promo code. We are going to have Dustin from Kids Sport on tomorrow. We've got a really great program going on right now into the new year to help give the gift of play. You can find out more at Kids Sport, the Manitoba Kids Sport site. But we'll bring Dustin in tomorrow and talk about that. But let's get over to the Coolbet lines. We'll get to the Jets in just a second, but quickly for an update for tomorrow's football game. This is as close to a pick'em as you'll get. The Seahawks are 1-point favorites, although it's juiced to the +1 for the Rams, which basically means what the heck is the money line for this game? Who's going to win? Coolbet has Seattle at -111 and the Rams at -105. I'd imagine that as good as you'll find anywhere for the Rams to get the win. As far as those Matt Stafford numbers that our pal Thomas was just talking about, the touchdown numbers for Matt Stafford, it's plus money for 1.5, for over 1.5. I will probably ride with him on that, plus 105 on over 1.5 passing touchdowns. And the touchdown number on Colby Parkinson, in case you're wondering, and yeah, he has been a monster as of late, getting into the end zone. Still a nice number, plus 236. I could see that coming down closer to game time tomorrow, as a lot of people realize that Devontae Adams is out, and Parkinson's been such a great target. Puka Nacua, plus 106, and JSN, plus 115 for that game tomorrow. We'll have Pat on tomorrow, and we'll see what he thinks about it. I'm not going to make any picks as of yet. Doing some more research tonight before we lock in that Thursday nighter, which is going to be one of the games of the year, certainly as far as matchups go. But tonight to the NHL. We got 5 games. Starting off with the Kings in LA against the Panthers. Kings have been struggling a little bit lately. They're now into the wild card. They got passed by Edmonton last night, although I think the Kings have a couple games in hand. But the Panthers have won 5-6. They're at home, -147 for the Cats over the Kings. We've got the Utah Mammoth and Detroit Red Wings. Both teams played last night. Utah lost. Detroit won. Detroit -123 home favorites against the Utah Mammoth. The Canes are a big road favorite, -175 in Nashville against the Predators. Predators have actually won some games lately. I was just doing the numbers. I think 7 of their last 10, including 2 over the Blues, who the Jets are facing tonight. That being said, I think I still like Carolina. The late night game is the Devils and the Golden Knights. Vegas was a much bigger favorite early on today in the -180s. It's now -164. Jersey at +140. Just going to look and see. Maybe they're playing a backup goalie or something. What do we have here? No, it's Carter Hart going up against Jacob Markstrom. So maybe some good value. Jersey's, much like last year, they've had a tough time winning games without their number one center, Jack Hughes. But as far as the Jet game goes tonight, Winnipeg a -147 favorite. The Blues +125 as a home dog. Total for the game is 5.5. And man, we had that near miss on the Sidney Crosby 2-point game last night. We had the McDavid, Draisaitl, and Crosby all to get 2 points. The Oiler guys both had 2 in the first period. Sid had 1 early in the second. They had 5 on power plays they were unsuccessful on after their early goal. So close. But tonight we just focus in on the Jets and Blues. I got a Winnipeg Sports Talk parlay up there if you want to ride with me. Kyle Connor comes up big in St. Louis and against the Blues. We're taking a Kyle Connor goal. Scheifele and Morrissey both to get a point. Jets to win. That's got a nice boost to +525. That is in the Coolbet exclusives. And again, if you haven't played there before, use that promo code WST when you sign up. 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. And do not forget, Poker Gang. We had Heimer on the show earlier wearing that sweet Coolbet hat. We'll be bringing those hats down and representing Coolbet in Canada at the Costa Rica Poker Festival. If you want to throw your hat in the ring to win a trip with us to their play on Monday, December 22nd, 8 p.m. We'll have details on our socials. But that's the next event. And then the final qualifier is the 7th of January, Wednesday night. Top 4 players on both of those tourneys will both win tickets and split the value of tickets. They'll bonus it afterwards like they did the last time. And then you got a chip in a chair on January 12th to win the trip to Costa Rica, leaving on the 26th of January for a week. It includes airfare. It includes hotel for the entire week, the beautiful Sheraton San Jose, and your buy-in for the $550 USD main event. Last year's total prize pool was $285,000 USD. Pat will join me tomorrow on the program, and then mark it down 10 a.m. Friday. Maybe tune in just to fade all my picks. But as Jake said, he's given me confidence after the disaster of last week. I think there's some good times ahead for me starting on Friday. 10 a.m. We do it up WST winners each and every week during the NFL season here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. All right, let's get Remo in here. Reem, we have any weather updates right now? Anything clear up for us or no, not really?
I haven't looked at anything, but shout out to Bingo Bango in chat who said, I got to go drive a bus for the next 4 hours on this curling rink. Pray for me, yikes. I thought he meant like driving around an arena like with curling, but no.
Like a Zamboni, no.
He meant like a Zamboni, but no, he meant the roads out there. So I haven't seen any updates, but we're going to give it a go tonight at Boston Pizza. I hope to see everyone who can make it out there. And if you can, we'll have other events. So stay tuned here to our social medias, subscribe to our mailing list. So I'll have to check. I'm going to go pick up my kids from school, so I will get a test drive out there. One thing you didn't mention, the Devils being a road dog to the Golden Knights and running with the goaltending. Do you know how bad Jacob Markstrom has been this year? He was available in my fantasy league. I was like, yeah, I would pick him up. That's Markstrom. He's got some name value. He's having like the worst year of his career. .874 save percentage, .356 goals against. It is not going well for him in New Jersey.
This is making sense now. In my league, I'm with some guys from the Jets Office Fantasy League. Goalies are super important. Like, you can't win if you don't have solid goalies. So usually you're allowed to keep one goalie, just but a max. So usually most people will keep their best goalie, and often guys will take a goalie in the first round and worry about the players later. Well, our pal Balls used his first pick for Markstrom.
No.
And that is part of the reason why we were both 0-6 playing against each other in week 7. He is now 0-10. And I am on a roll. I've won 4 straight, beating all the top teams. So I'm going with, who do I have? I have Dostal, Vejmelka, Bobrovsky. So my goalies have been helping me out. And Markstrom has completely sewered his team. And now he's into next year mode, making some deals. Folks, that is going to do it for us. We'll love to see you tonight. Boston Pizza Keniston. Shout out to everyone that's planning on coming. I would say give yourself a little bit of extra time to get down there. I have a feeling rush hour is going to be a gong show. Right now, it's the orange blizzard warning is in effect, and the yellow freezing rain warning is also still going on. I see this is just from actually in the last 3 minutes, so I'll read it to you. Freezing rain expected. Roads and walkways will likely become icy and slippery. Be very careful of walking or driving. So just add another challenge for us today. But yes, be careful out there. Take it slow. We'll see you at Boston Pizza at 7 o'clock. And for everything we're going through to get together tonight, let's get this damn win for the visitors. And hopefully it'll be a fun show tomorrow on the program. That is going to do it for us. Thanks again to Thomas who jumped on, Jeff Hamilton, Jamie Rivers as well. We will see you tonight at Boston Pizza Keniston. If not, stay inside. And thanks again for listening to Winnipeg Sports Talk. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Go Jets, go.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.